But in your own words, what do you do, Miranda?
I am a farm vet.
Good start.
But I do occasionally do small animal locoming stuff now and again. I am really into dairy cattle and sheep, not together, separately. And I am doing a Nuffield scholarship on sheep parasites.
But you've been working in Wales, so you worked in mixed practice to start with, didn't you? And then you
yeah, 18 months mixed practice and then 4 years farm.
And did you know when you graduated that you wanted to, did you have an inkling that you wanted to do just farm eventually, or were you?
Yeah, I think so. I kind of muddled my way through life and uni until about 4th year.
Okay.
And then, so I did 3 years vet, and then I did an intercalation, so an extra degree. And then after that, I went back into 4th year and was like, oh, actually vetting is like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And then 4th, 5th year, I was like, oh, I'm pretty into farm, but I was one of those people that didn't really like giving up anything. So I always knew I wasn't interested in horses. Like, that's not a thing that I want to do. But I was always like, oh, you know, if I have the opportunity to do a bit of smalls, then I could pick it up later on if I need to, you know, random shifts, that kind of stuff.
Well,
so yeah, exactly. So I did 18 months. I found a practice that was majority farm. So that probably should have given me a clue, to be honest, but I obviously didn't see it. So it was about 70% farm and the rest was smalls. So yeah, started on that really.
Nice, and that's probably quite unusual in the UK at the moment now, anyway, because like you'd find a mixed job, but probably the other way around, wouldn't you? You'd find 70% smalls, 30% farm, and it's quite hard, I imagine, to build up a decent farm skill base when you're only doing it 30% of the time. So that's interesting. You probably be the same again when we have students on placement in final year. That's one of the biggest things playing on their mind. What should they go for? And I must. I don't know how you feel about it, Miranda. I always tell them just to do what they want.
Yeah, for sure.
Because like I did something very similar for my first 6 months in practice, and there are definitely benefits to doing smalls. Like you say, you can pick it up at a later date. But I think things like surgical skills. So when you're doing small animal, you know, you're castrating dogs every week. You get better. It makes your
vasectomies on rams really good.
Yeah, exactly. So there are definitely benefits, but if you don't want to be doing it, unfortunately, I think that probably outweighs.
There's no point.
Anything else. So 18
and months. Also the benefit of doing smalls is you're inside, you don't get wet, and there's a toilet, so you don't have to pee in a bush. Like, there's a lot of positives.
I forget.
It was. Oh yeah, I'm a man, so I forget that girls have to go pee in bushes.
Someone did. One of our first students, when we opened Black Sheep, she said, I had never even considered this. Like, how girls sometimes like dehydrate themselves. This might have just been her on placements.
Oh no, that's definitely a thing. Yeah, wild. Not intentionally. You just don't drink water.
Yeah. You just don't drink water.
Yeah. You don't think like, oh, I shouldn't dehydrate myself, but you're like, oh, probably if I drink that bottle of water, it's going to be annoying.
That is mental. But
the positives are that you found some really good pea spots that had really nice views. So we used to rank our pea spots on the view and the privacy.
The difficulty is, I think, with vet school, no one will ever come out of it after 5 or 6 years and say, I could have learned more. Just wish there'd been more contact time, more lectures. Because I think about, you know, what vets today, because you have to learn, you know, it's still, there's a limited degree of tracking. So like, your farm keen vets can sort of tailor to the farm stuff, and same with every other discipline. Still, everyone's got to know the basics about every other.
I don't think, I think in the UK there's virtually no tracking until 5th year. Let's be honest.
Yeah, and certainly where I was, there was not like there was 4 weeks of elective now. But I think it's moving. When talk to students from say Glasgow and Edinburgh, I think it's moving a bit that way, but still compared to the States or compared to here, like
or Holland.
Oh, is that right?
You know, the Netherlands, they have like almost proper farm tracks and everything.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So in the UK, yeah, because you have, and I think the part of the, I hate to just talk about problems, but part of the challenge is that what's considered basic or the fundamentals has expanded so violently. Probably from from the previous generations of vets, especially on the small side. Like, you know, why do we all go around and do an orthopedics rotation when we watch someone PTO or like what? Because you just did that, like, you know what I mean, like fantastic to know.
Yeah,
be the perfect sort of thing for a small animal orthopedic.
Because they always argue when you ask them this question, that they being kind of the unis in general, the course setters, they always say, oh well, you need to know what can be done so that then when you're in practice you have that knowledge to, if you need to refer, which is fair enough, but it doesn't mean that you need to spend 4 to 6 weeks watching it being done.
A friend of mine put it to me that, like, when we graduated, like uni taught, final year specifically, taught you how to be a decent small animal vet, but taught you how to learn to be a decent farm vet. Do you know what I mean? And that's exactly what you were talking about earlier. Like,
you know, the only livestock that existed around you were pigs.
we had 2 dairy cows in the paddock at the vet school. Both with yonis, I think they were
strong.
Because there was a uni farm, like I can't remember how many cows, but like milked on robots, and this they had a yonis positive. They thought, oh, we'll bring it over to the vet school for teaching. And there was a jersey, and I think there's this, I don't know the name of it. There's a thing with jerseys where someone get like a twisty face. There will be a proper.
Yeah.
I've forgotten, but this jersey with a real wry nose, sort of looking at you, but its nose pointing. So it was different, but I suppose you do track to an extent with the EMS, but I think probably could be done differently. What is a Nuffield scholarship to start with, and what triggered you to go and apply for one?
So a Nuffield scholarship is a scholarship open to 15 to 20 people every year that are based in agriculture in their work. So mainly farmers, but agronomists, vets, that kind of stuff that people are allowed to apply for. You apply for it, and then if you get it, you get a grant for 2 years, and a book of contacts, effectively, that and you need to travel the world for at least 8 weeks in that 2 years, talking to farmers, businesses about your chosen topic.
Okay, and your chosen topic, you said, was sheep parasites. But is it
anthelmintic resistance in sheep? Yeah. So you have to do a whole application process. So you fill in a lot of questions, CV, references, all of that kind of stuff. You have to talk about your study topic, why it's relevant, why it's important, why you think it needs to be done. And then those applications get whittled down. You then get an interview. And then after the interview, you get told if it's a yes or no.
Don't get me wrong, getting into vet school isn't some sort of heroic Olympian, but it is competitive, and it is, to do that at a young age, it is like, you do start to think, well, you know, not if I got into vet school I could do anything, but like it takes a bit of the fear away, I think, for at least if you're a bit foolhardy.
I'm not sure I agree.
Right.
To be honest, I think because the trouble is, once you get into vet school, you then are the bottom of the pile. You know, you've spent your school years being considered relatively intelligent because you have to get the grades. But then when you're in vet school, literally everyone is more intelligent, cleverer, more hardworking than you are. And
people who weren't as hardworking as you, Miranda, at vet school. I'm sure.
Yeah, well, the boys, but other than the boys.
And they are the dregs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm calling Ollie, Ewan, and Gareth out on this one, 100%.
Oh, sorry. And clearly in the end, you didn't first go, presumably you got in, right? And you got accepted for this, because people like take multiple runs at it, understandably.
Are you talking about vet school and Nuffield?
Both, but nothing.
Oh, well, yeah, both for both, I guess.
Yeah, they take multiple runs at it, which is worth doing. It's such a competitive thing. How far through are you now?
So I present November 2023.
Okay.
So not even a year, I guess.
Sweet. So, where are you going to on your, what's a list destinations? Because travel is a big part of it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've spent a couple of weeks in Kenya in June. Went to Saudi Arabia for a couple of days.
Yeah.
Because massive dairy farms are cool.
Yeah.
We're going to America on Tuesday.
Where specifically?
California. We're visiting a couple of dairy farms, and then after that it's a bit of a timeout, really. So it probably doesn't count that much, but yeah. So that's what's actually been really good about locuming. So I started locuming in November, just back, and I actively chose to try and work in a lot of different practices. So I worked up in Orkney for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Because the way that they do things up there is very, very different to how I'm used to down in West Wales. And that was really, really interesting. I think in order to make my project useful, it has to be based on management that farmers can implement.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
So my kind of main knowledge of sheep farming is South Shropshire, because that's that's where we have the sheep. But Orkney is a very, very different environment to sheep farming. So I wanted to make sure that to understand how different people farm, and therefore try and mold the management proposals that I would put in this topic to cover a wider range of sheep farmers. That's the aim. At Prostock, I was living and working with my boyfriend. We met at uni. All that kind of normal stuff. He then decided to leave to go work in Saudi Arabia. And I went, I'm going to be really bored. It was November, and I was like, well, I've got winter now. You can't really surf that well in the winter. Often the waves are too strong for swimming. So, I've got a fair bit more spare time. Let's, give this a go and see what happens. I really enjoy teaching. I think farm vetting is not something that a lot of people come across when they're at uni. They see a bit of it, but I don't believe that they see what it's actually really like. And also, coming from a non-farming background, I had absolutely no idea what farm vets did when I started uni. Even having done work experience, I still had no idea. My experience of farm vetting was sitting in a deck chair watching out an alpaca give birth. That's, it's some people's idea of farm vetting, but I think it's beyond the ordinary, I guess.
Yeah.
So that was the motivation to kind of say, well, I've got this time. Had I finished my cert? I think I was coming to the end of doing my certificate as well.
Right. Okay.
So
for anyone who does not know, that's a certificate in advanced veterinary practice, isn't it? So like a postgraduate sort of master's level.
Yeah, that's right.
Sort of qualification. So yeah, no, carry on. That's just in case. No.
Yeah. So I finished my cert in. Yeah, I think I was on the last. So it's done in modules. It's done in 6 modules. Yeah. You can do. The shortest it takes is 2 years, and the longest you can do it over 10 years. So I finished them all, and I was just starting my final module. I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna have so much free time, I won't know what to do with myself. So that's why I started it.